I'll never forget the day my 6-year-old son, Ethan, became the unlikely target of our neighborhood HOA president's fury. It was a blistering Saturday in July, the kind of heat that makes the air shimmer and the pavement burn through your flip-flops. Ethan was in our front yard, ing his best life, spraying his brand-new water blaster and laughing as the cool mist fought back the 90-degree sun. His giggles were pure joy, the kind that makes you pause and soak in the moment. I was nearby, tending to my wilting petunias, when a voice sliced through the air like a firecracker. "What do you think you're doing? That's against HOA rules." The voice was sharp, unmistakable, belonging to Margaret Hensley, known to everyone in Crest EW Meadows as the iron-fisted Maggie, the HOA president who wielded the community bylaws like a scepter. She stormed across our lawn in her crisp linen shorts and polo, her face twisted with outrage. Before I could even process what was happening, she marched straight up to Ethan, yanked the hose from his water blaster, and twisted the spigot shut. "This neighborhood has standards," she snapped as Ethan's smile collapsed. His little face crumpled, tears pooling in his eyes as his afternoon of innocent fun shattered. We'd only moved to Crest EW 4 months earlier, chasing a promotion that promised a fresh start. The neighborhood checked all the boxes: great schools, manicured lawns, a sparkling community pool. What the realtor failed to mention was Maggie, who'd ruled the HOA for 11 years, transforming from a well-meaning volunteer into a suburban tyrant. Since we arrived, I'd already gotten 2 courtesy notices about my trash cans lingering curbside too long and a snippy warning about the unapproved teal cushions on my porch swing. Each time, I nodded, made the changes, and bit my tongue. But this? Scaring my kid? That was a line no parent could ignore. "Maggie, step away from my son," I said, keeping my voice leveled despite the heat rising in my chest. I moved between them, resting a hand on Ethan's trembling shoulder. He was sniffling, confused, his water blaster dangling limply in his hand. Maggie thrust a laminated sheet in my face, her manicured finger jabbing at a highlighted line. Section 7, Paragraph 3 of the bylaws explicitly prohibits excessive outdoor water use. It's about lawn damage and conservation. The text she pointed to seemed to drone on about irrigation systems, not kids playing on a scorching day. "That has nothing to do with a 6-year-old cooling off for half an hour." I shot back, my negotiation skills from years in corporate kicking in. "Please leave our property." But Maggie was just getting started. "This kind of reckless behavior, or tanks property values," she hissed, her voice climbing. "First it's water toys, then it's overgrown weeds, and soon we're leave-ing in a dump. Neighbors were peeking out now, Mrs. Lee across the street, the Thompsons next door drawn by the commotion. Maggie didn't care. "The fine starts at due lot 200, and I'll push the board for the maximum. I'm documenting this for future violations." My patience was fraying as I guided Ethan toward the front door. "Go grab some lemonade, buddy," I said softly. "I've got this." Once he was safely inside, I turned back to Maggie, who was now snapping photos of the tiny puddles on our grass like she was collecting denke for a crime scene. "This is over, Maggie. You scare my kid, and you're trespassing. I've read the bylaws front to back. There's no rule against water play." Her eyes narrowed to slits. "You think you know better than me? I've run this HOA since you were probably still in college. Letting your kid waste water like that? That's practically neglect. Maybe Childcare VYCES would like a word about your parenting." My stomach lurched. This wasn't just an overzealous neighbor anymore. This was a threat to my family. "Did you just threaten to call CPS over a water toy?" I asked, my voice low, incredulous. By now, the neighborhood was a full-on audience. Mrs. Lee had her phone out, recording. The Thompsons stood on their porch, frowning. I felt their silent support clearly. I wasn't Maggie's first target. "I'm asking you one last time to leave," I said, my tone like steel. But Maggie dug in, literally planting her feet in my grass. "I'm not going anywhere until I've finished my inspection. As HOA president, I have the right to document violations." She pulled out her phone with a flourish. "In fact, I'm calling the police. They need to see you obstructing HOA business." I almost laughed at the absurdity. Go ahead, call them. I'd love their take. Maggie dialed 911 with the drama of a soap opera star, her voice dripping with self-righteousness. Yes, I need to report a homeowner blocking my duties as HOA president. He's letting his child damage community property with excessive water use and getting aggressive. She smirked as she rattled off my address. I stood there, arms crossed, as she spun her tale. Mrs. Lee edged closer, still filming. Mr. Thompson shouted from his porch, "Maggie, the kid was just playing. Let it go." That only set her off more. Mind your own business, Greg. Your mailbox is 2 inches too tall, so don't lecture me about rules. 15 minutes later, a police cruiser rolled up. Officer Daniel stepped out, his face professional but tired, like he'd seen one too many neighborhood spats. Officer Carter joined him. "What's the issue here?" Daniels asked, glancing between us. Maggie didn't give me a chance to speak. This homeowner's child is violating HOA water usage rules. When I tried to address it, he got obstructive and refused to comply with my authority. Daniels raised an eyebrow and turned to me. "My son was playing with a water toy in our yard," I said calmly. "Ms. Hensley came onto our property, yelled at him, disconnected his toy, and refused to leave when asked. She also hinted at calling CPS over it." I nodded toward Mrs. Lee. "My neighbor's been recording most of this." Carter motioned to Mrs. Lee. "Ma'am, can we see that video?" Maggie cut in. "That's irrelevant. The issue is the violation." Daniels held up a hand. "Ms. Hensley, let's do our job. You'll get your turn." Mrs. Lee showed them her phone. The officers watched, their faces hardening as they occasionally glanced at Maggie, whose cheeks were turning crimson. "As you can see," I added, "there's a patch of wet grass that'll dry in an hour. No damage, no waste, just a kid on a hot day." Maggie couldn't hold back. "The bylaws clearly state, do you have a copy?" Carter asked. With a triumphant flourish, Maggie produced her laminated rulebook. "Section 7, paragraph 3, she declared, thrusting it at them. Daniels read aloud. "Irrigation systems must prevent overspray, runoff, and waste. Watering restricted to city ordinance days." He looked up. "This doesn't mention water toys." "It's implied." Maggie insisted, her voice shrill. "All water use falls under this. And as president, I interpret the rules." More neighbors had gathered, phones out, turning Maggie's rant into a viral spectacle. Daniels kept his tone even. "Ms. Hensley, nothing here bans a kid playing with water on private property. You can't enter someone's yard without permission and disrupt their family based on your interpretation." Maggie's face went scarlet. "So you're letting him mock our standards?" "This is why property values crash, because police won't enforce rules." Carter sighed. "We enforce laws, ma'am, not HOA rules. You've been asked to leave multiple times. Do it now." That's when Maggie lost it completely. "This is outrageous. I've spent 11 years upholding this community's standards. I'm not some trespasser." She waved her arms, her voice hitting a pitch that sent squirrels scattering. "I need to measure the water damage." When Carter stepped in her path, she swatted his arm. "Don't touch me. I'll lunch with the mayor's sister." The officers exchanged a glance the kind that says, "We're done here." "Ms. Hensley, you're under arrest for trespassing, disorderly conduct, and resisting an officer," Daniels said, pulling out handcuffs. "This is assault. Police brutality." Maggie screeched as the cuffs clicked. Section 12, paragraph 4, gives HOA board members inspection rights. She ranted about water conservation and collapsing CI violation as they led her to the cruiser, all because of Ethan's water blaster. By the next day, Mrs. Lee's video, plus footage from 3 other neighbors, had spread like wildfire, not just in Crest VYEW, but across town. 3 days later, an email from the HOA board arrived. They'd held an emergency meeting, voted unanimously to oust Maggie as president, and apologize to my family, clarifying that no bylaw ever banned water play. The final blow came a week later in court. Maggie was fined due lot $800 for disorderly conduct and resisting, plus court costs and 20 hours of community SARE VYC at the city's water conservation garden. Ironic twist. The trespassing charge would drop if she stayed off my property for a year. As the judge read her sentence, Maggie's face went pale, her protests reduced to a week. "But, Your Honor, I was just enforcing the rules." The gavel fell, and with it, Maggie Hensley's 11-year reign as Crest VY EU's HOA dictator ended in disgrace.